As you can clearly see from my backdrop, I'm actually recording this in my classroom. It's easier this way, sound-wise. Also, I just don't have a whole lot of time right now. We're going on holiday soon, and man, is it hot in Thailand. So, love this time of year. We're about to enter a sports haven, but honestly, we've had so much basketball. One more recap video, then we can move forward. Here we go. It's always tricky here because I would love to, and people who know me know, I would just tear down the games, talk play by play, what do we think it means, but realistically, you're going to go somewhere else for that. Here, you're probably only watching this to either humor me or because you want to see more specifically about our pool. So I can't help myself. I'm going to talk a little bit, but not a whole lot about the actual game stuff. Yes, I think in both finals, we did not get the tight moments that maybe we always look for, but that rarely happens in a final. And the fact that UConn had come back on Duke, let's be honest, the Wolverines were probably more nervous than we really think when they started narrowing that gap and they got it to about 4, just over a possession. Of course, the announcers did everything they could to ice the game by just saying Michigan's not missed any free throws. Even at one point in time, I literally wrote down the quote when they're like, man, you can't get the ball off them. They just don't cough it up. And then Michigan immediately turned the ball over. I swear they do it just on purpose. We could go off on the referees and just talk about the inconsistencies. I mean, both games in one way, or in the semifinals, they were known for being more aggressive. In fact, the women's especially, more of those rugby matches. And then they kind of called everything. And actually in the guys, they called a pretty tight game and it really screwed UConn over. I don't think they were unfair. I actually think they were fouls, but you get that. It's variability and they're never really going to be perfect. Nor do I think we actually want them, or would we recognize if they were. So I don't really want to make any of that an issue. I think on the player side, there was just a couple of well-played games with deep teams, and I think the ones that didn't rely so much on that pressure to create their offense and their turnovers, they just benefited. And when especially UConn men got in a bit of foul trouble, they didn't really have that many variability, which is why I think they had those static bits. I do think it's always interesting to see a team trying to stall. I mean, UCLA was trying to do it for most of the second half on the women, so kudos for them because sometimes that bites you in the foot. But ultimately, it came down to the Vegas favorites won, at least in the final. Each tournament had the big upset. You got UConn over Duke, and obviously UConn on the other end of the upset with South Carolina. If you enjoy basketball, there was something for you in the tournament. That's not really the trend I actually want to talk about, though. With people moving around so much more than ever before, I mean, I think it was 2 days after the women's final and already 1,100 plus people or something ridiculous like that had declared for the transfer portal. I don't even know how that math works, and I think that's obviously divs 1 through 3. But it's kind of nutty when you think about it. I mean, even UCLA, they were there, and 6 of their players transferred over. Lauren Betts used to play for Stanford, and now they're UCLA bound. So I think players moving and making these choices is one thing. Coaches in college basketball have always kind of been our staples, but now they're even more so the characters we look for. Calipari, I think, making his crazy comments in the first couple rounds. Pitino, in a similar vein, just showing disdain for the whole tournament. Obviously, we talked about the UConn crazy crew with, Hurley and Jean going nuts in different ways and them kind of taking the story. I think the story that I'm left with, though, is, the women's coach was known as Kari Can't Close because she's nice. And I mean, the weird thing is if you talk about what she does and they go into more detail, she's very player first. She makes the girls journal. She talks about being a basketball player as part of their identity, but not their whole identity. And because of that, she had the stigma that she hadn't won. But realistically, we just do that. If you haven't won, we just say, well, whatever you do doesn't win. And then as soon as you win, we're like, let's copy what you do and make it a thing. You saw that in the guys' game, even the pro level. I mean, Steph Curry obviously did change the game with some of the threes. Now, some teams try and mimic, some don't, some go total small ball. And then about a year and a half ago, it was decided everyone needs a big man or you're screwed. And so now everyone's struggling to get a big man. We follow trends, but very rarely do we set them. And it kind of does take the coaches to set those trends. And I understand I'm saying this as a coach, but I think if we're going to learn anything from UCLA, I mean, if you think of the stuff that she did, it kind of sounds like another UCLA coach that we all know of in Wooden, who taught like self-actualization, and you have to be a complete person to even be on the floor, and how you treat people matters outside of the floor. If that is a message and something that's going to catch fire, I'm all for it. Obviously, when you coach to the player and you lose, you still win because at least you're developing players. I do think it's crazy, and this comes from someone, and most of you know this about me. I mean, I met Bobby Knight and I went to his basketball camp when I was in high school. he screamed at high schoolers as a gimmick to start off the conference, or sorry, the session, the week-long kind of camp. And we all kind of applauded and thought, we got our Bobby Knight moment. But it is weird that it would be your legacy. And I think looking at today's athletes, you got to find a balance, because as soon as I'm saying this, I'm probably getting some eye roll saying like, well, then you get players walk all over you and no player accountability. And I think the exact opposite. Right now, players need accountability more than ever. I just don't know if it comes from a grown person screaming at them as loud as possible. I think the balance of just like, again, going to Wooden, who really suffered no fools. If you were late for the bus, you missed the bus. Keeping your team rules straight and having something with structure doesn't mean not supporting. And so if that's the way we're going, that's great. But let's be honest, we don't know where we're going. All of this is reactionary because we just watched a garbage ton of basketball, at least I did. And I'm just trying to make sense of it in my own life. Next year, I'll probably be talking about something else, probably the refs. I do like to complain about them. Anyway, that is more than enough for me. Let's get to our pools, because some awesome things happened and some people need to be recognized. Now, I know you know all of this, but I gotta say it anyway, so a huge congratulations. We have a new champion, new member of the Hall. I know the Rathwell family, and I love the fact that you all make Madness part of your March. I love getting the pictures and messages of you all kind of filling out your brackets. So I knew at some point in time, sooner than later, I was gonna be saying that one of you was gonna be the first Rathwell in the Hall. Who knew it would be the dad? In a lot of cases, the kids beat you to it. So congratulations, Mark, on boxing everybody out and being the first Rothwell to cross the threshold. I have a feeling you will not be the last. Second place, Lindsay, new to our pool, not new to the pools. Congratulations on a very legitimate bracket. UCLA was not a popular choice, so obviously you kind of going against the grain was huge. We will be in touch. My dogs won third place. That means my gut call was always there. Hey, I'll take it. And if we look down, Ben, you're the first out of the cash, and Jackie was the highest UCLA that didn't quite get there. She thought it'd be a lot of upsets this tournament. Didn't really work out. We can go all the way down to the bottom here. Who earned their free bracket? Who earned their spot? Congratulations, Orion. I would love to see, as Lindsay, you tempted, just how that process went of choosing. So if you'd like to include that into next year, you let me know, because I think that would be something more than one person would want to see. On the flip side, I'm going to start with 74th. That is Senor Horst. Now, when you put a couple in, you take a lot of gambles. This one took a lot of gambles. You have not scored a point since the third round, so I think we knew this one was coming, but let's just zoom on up to the top. We have a repeat champion. So as of now, Horst actually was the only one prior to this year who had won both in the same gender. He's won two men's. Obviously, we know Kelly McKenna last year was the first one to win both genders, a male and a female, but they're both two-time winners. Now Kent, all the way back in 2018, when we were both in Kenya together, he was on top of the mountain, and he's done it again. But if you are starting to hear that name and you don't know Kent, you're like, I recognize that. Yeah, because he was second last year, which means he also won the African European region. So he's a back-to-back Afro-European champion, and the second time in a row he's been top two. So congratulations, Rushki. We'll be in touch, buddy. But on the other side, to fill out the brackets, Penny, who's also a former champion, came all the way back to second place, and she was the top of the Asian region. Congratulations, Penny. You see the name Mark Rathwell, but do not be confused. That is Archer Rathwell underneath. So Archer, while your dad wins the one pool, you get third in the other, and that's enough to also take the North American region. So sometimes this doesn't happen, but our top three are actually all from different regions, which I think is pretty crazy. Also, two of the three, also my godchildren. So congratulations there. Not Kent. I'll give you a spoiler. Not Kent, the other two. So congratulations, folks. Love to send money your way. Love that you're into Madness. Fourth, it stays in the household. That's Jackie. I swear to God, I did not book this that way. It is not just a way for you to try and get money back into my pocket. I promise you. Jackie, congratulations. You actually didn't tell me it was Michigan until later on. I was pretty pumped about it, but then I looked down because I actually took Michigan as well. I'm on the 7th spot, so I just get a little bit of cash. Not a big deal. We keep going down after Jackie, though. That is the 5th spot. That is our defending champion. Very rarely does a defending champion actually finish in the money again. Usually they take our money and run. Not John Strecker. You're taking it as well. 5th place cash. And then Ben had the chance, had the ways gone different in the girls bracket, he could have finished in both of the money. He didn't, but he still gets a 6th. And honestly, I'm in a baseball league with the guy, so he gets enough money through fantasy. This is just to try and, keep the party going. Unfortunately, James, that means you're the first one left out by 8 points, and you're the first one to also have Michigan. I also happen to know that you talk a lot about Michigan, so I know that you are someone that follows this not just for the madness and the pool. And then obviously Max below, just got to highlight because he's been in the pool for a few years. And he's a senior this year, so this would have been a cool way to finish off. But hey, Max, at least you picked the champion, because Max is going to be one of those people that actually gets to go to Division I games next year. So here's looking at you on that one, Max. But hey, congratulations again to everyone that finished the money. But again, a huge congratulations 2 times in the Hall, Reschke. Way to go, bud. Oh. Madness always takes a strip out of me, but in such a glorious way. Yes, I do this to myself, so if you enjoyed any of the videos, write-ups, or anything, I appreciate that. I mean, obviously, I do it more for me, but I hope that people enjoy them. It is always a huge weight off my shoulders now that this is done, but now we're getting into the good stuff. NBA is actually going to start trying again after about a week. We got hockey kind of rounding into things. Baseball started, I think. Someone should tell the Blue Jays that. I don't know if they got the memo that it actually has started. They're going to need healthy players, but that's a me problem. Anywho, thanks so much. You know you're going to hear from me again. Some of you sooner than later if it's fantasy football stuff, but everybody back in March. I already can't wait till next year's madness. Hope you enjoyed this year. Take care, crew.